Now, of course, lots has been said, and there'll be lots more to be said about the cost of living squeeze being felt in our pockets from the supermarkets recently. A new report put together by the people behind Cirencester's Foodbank has more closely detailed how this is affecting people around here. The Cotswold Food Poverty Report describes a growing issue locally, with parts being played by the pandemic, the war in Ukraine, and rising costs in food, fuel and energy. The report released then today. Anton Wynn is head of Cirencester Foodbank and joins us on the programme this afternoon. Hi, Anton.
Hi there, Steve. Thanks for having me on today.
Thank you very much for joining us. The report, is this especially on the back of what's going on, or is this something you do every year?
So this is something that we've launched this year. It's really an aim to share some of the things that we're seeing across the South Cotswolds. Cirencester Foodbank covers about 210 square miles of the South Cotswolds. And whilst we're an independent charity, we're part of the Trussell Trust network. So there are other food banks in Gloucestershire who are doing similar things to us to try and alleviate people's hunger where they're forced into food poverty. So the report really was put together to try and share what we're seeing with the wider community, with those who live in our local community, those who serve it and those who support it. Because really, we think we've got one little piece of a bigger jigsaw that we need to get out there to share with others who can use what we've found, and together perhaps we can work to bring about an end to food poverty in the South Cotswolds area.
What do you think will surprise people from this report? Were there things that actually surprised you?
I think one of the things that always surprises us when we look at the information we're gathering is the amount of children under 16 that our food bank is supporting. Over 50% of our food parcels go to households with children under 16 years of age. And that's a huge number when you consider these are households that are really deep in food poverty. These are not just households that are just skipping a meal or reducing meal sizes or even sort of cutting down on the quality of food in order to eat. These are households that actually have nothing left in the pantry, really. So the fact that means that there are children going hungry across the South Cotswolds area, which most people would see as quite an affluent area, is really quite surprising and quite shocking.
Yeah, it's people going to work basically and not having enough. This is what we've kind of been talking about quite a lot recently here on BBC Radio Gloucestershire, that perhaps, you know, the food banks were seen as a backstop, a help for those people who couldn't find work. But this is now very much the situation. These are people in work coming to you for help. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of those who come into us are on low income. So that means that they might have a job that they are holding down, but that job just simply isn't paying enough to meet the cost of living, to pay for the essentials that they need to really make do on a daily basis. So I think you're quite right. When we hit the pandemic, obviously across the board, everybody found that they were struggling more. People found they couldn't even find food in the supermarkets to buy and have. But I think everybody thought that as we came out of the pandemic, we might see a little bit of light at the end of that tunnel, things might improve. But that perfect storm almost of the food prices increasing, fuel prices increasing, energy prices increasing has meant that those who have never really faced food poverty before suddenly just don't have enough money in their banks to afford all of the essentials that they need in order to survive. And the food bank sort of steps in as a safety net there to support them in the short term, is the idea, whilst they get back on their feet. But these crises that they're facing are just taking longer and longer to overcome. So the food bank's having to do more and more to fill the gap that's occurring in people's lives.
In the report, it says April 2021 to March 2022, 50% of emergency food supplies were for children aged 16 and under, with 3/4 of this proportion being for primary school ages or younger. How are you managing to get in touch and help those people, help those youngsters then?
So we work on a referral basis. Each food bank is a little bit different, but our food bank works on referrals from frontline support agencies, from statutory agencies, voluntary agencies. And we work very closely with local schools in the South Cotswolds who can refer in families who are struggling to us. Obviously, they have great relationships with their families. And so people can approach the schools discreetly to ask for help. They can refer those families into us and we can make sure a food parcel reaches them. We operate on a bit of a hybrid model because the South Cotswold is such a big area, as I said, about 210 square miles. It's very difficult for households to actually get to us and pick up a food parcel from our centres, which are normally located in the sort of hubs like Cirencester, Fairford and Tetbury. So over the pandemic, we introduced a delivery model, which we've continued with to try and get food parcels out to those who are really isolated in the rural community. So that means we can get these food parcels out to households, especially where there's children, and make sure that they've got the food they need as quickly as possible. So it's really a partnership. Everything we do really is formed around partnership with other agencies so that we can make sure that the support is targeted, reaches those really in need, and gets those as quickly as possible.
Fine, Anton. We know that energy bills are going to go up in the autumn. We've already been warned about that. Fuel prices are still going up and up week on week, and we're told that food prices still have a way to go as well. How are you going to cope? Are you expecting greater demand? You must be now going into the winter.
Yeah, and I think we've already begun to see that, I think, across the board with local food banks we've been speaking with, but also with food pantries across the area. They're seeing increased demand already. So that can only be expected to become much more significant as we hit the winter and more people need to put on energy to heat their homes. But one of the things that I've already heard about from some of our clients, from others, is that they just actually don't have enough money to even run the oven or the gas or electric hob to cook the food. So food banks are having to put together parcels which don't need cooking. Luckily, a lot of our foods can be eaten cold, but it's not ideal at all to find that households locally are not even able to cook the food that's being provided to them. So we're working quite strongly, again, in partnership with Citizens Advice, Warm and Well in Gloucestershire and the Food Bank Foundation to make sure that people not only have access to food parcels, but can get energy advice and support where necessary. So we're really trying to work alongside others to ensure that people are getting the most support. But it really is a challenging outlook as we move through the year. And we're really quite concerned about the picture it's painting about how many people are going to need support, especially as we get into those winter months.
Well, good luck and thank you for all your support you're doing for us here in Gloucestershire at the moment. Anton Wynn, head of Cirencester Foodbank, with their report looking at food poverty, the Cotswold Food Poverty Report. More details via their website as well. You can check out exactly what's been said there.